I feel absolutely obligated to make this video, pun intended, because there are lots of comments going around on social media, like this one here, that says the Local Government Finance Act 1992 provides no obligation to pay council tax, which is quite the reverse of what this act does. This act in section 1 provides that in the financial year beginning 1993, that each local authority, in other words, each billing authority, which is a local authority acting as a billing authority for the purposes of this act, shall levy, which is impose, and collects a tax, which is called council tax, which shall be payable in respect of a dwelling in its area. Now, moving to section 6 of this act, which sets out who is liable to pay that council tax. And there's an order of hierarchy of who is to pay first and then who subsequently is liable if there is such a person. So under subsection 2, it provides that the person who is a resident of the dwelling and has a freehold in the interest in the whole or any part of it, that is the person primarily who will be liable to pay the council tax. Secondly is a person who is such a resident and has a leasehold interest in the whole or any part of the dwelling. Thirdly is a person who is resident but also has a statutory or secure tenancy for the whole or any part of the dwelling. So that goes for anyone who is renting a property, they will be the one liable for the council tax. Next in the hierarchy is someone that has a contractual license. The difference between a license and a tenancy or lease is that a license does not have any interest in the land, but they will become liable if they have a license to occupy the whole or any part of that dwelling. Next is if person is just resident, and the next is a person that owns the dwelling. So there's obviously a little bit more to it than this, but in short form, that is how it sets out who is liable to pay this council tax. These comments on social media saying that you don't have to pay council tax under this act, some people believe these comments because it makes reference to an act, and some people just assume that because it's written down that it must be true. Therefore, they read this comment that says there's no obligation to pay council tax under the Local Government and Finance Act 1992, and some people assume that that's correct. However, this is simply wrong, and even when there's more than one person living in the property that fits into any one of those categories, under subsection 3, each person is going to be jointly and severally liable to pay the council tax in respect of that dwelling. In other words, the council can chase one or both equally, jointly, severally, and all of the enforcement mechanisms can be used against one or both of them, either together, in turn, or completely separately. So it really is as simple as that. There's no debate about it, there's no ambiguity about it. If you do not have a valid exemption or reduction, or you're a student, or any of the other reasons that means you might not have to pay the council tax, the default position is you do have to pay it, and if you don't pay it, it might be the quickest route to bankruptcy. Now, I'm also aware that lots of people state that they haven't paid it for several years. This is probably due to one of two things. Either just simply a lack of resources at the local authority so that they haven't gotten around to chasing that person yet. And secondly, and perhaps in combination, that that person might not be quote unquote in the system enough that they are on the radar of the local authority for them to come chasing for it. But one thing that I can warn everybody about is that the longer these things go on, the easier it's going to be for a local authority to prove that you've intentionally and willfully not paid the council tax. So if you've missed it for, say, 2 or 3 months because you have money issues, and that's something that you raise and discuss with the local authority, that's one thing. If you've willfully refused to pay it for 3, 4, or even more years, and then you get found out, and then the council come knocking for all of the backdated council tax, that is going to be very difficult for you to explain why you haven't paid it. And quoting social media posts like this one is not going to help you. In the meantime, thank you for watching.